Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request this time for Fadi. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos or topics, reactions, commentaries, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box. And this is for the review of Bad Boys 2 from 2003, which I love. I love this movie. I do. It's my favorite Michael Bay film. Probably be my favorite Will Smith, Martin Lawrence film. This is a film that is just pure Bayhem. This is unfiltered Michael Bay. This is him. I think this is a movie he wants to do every single time. But in Transformers, he has to be brought down by the rating, of course. And in other movies, maybe he doesn't have as much of the control or budget. Here, it felt like if Michael Bay took Starface level of cocaine, this is his movie, and I love it for it. I saw this twice in theaters when it came out in 2003. It just had such a ball. To me, it's the pinnacle of the Michael Bayhem. And really, when I think about this, this is if Michael Bay did a film in the 80s. I really do believe that. If Michael Bay did a film in the 80s, with the biggest budget he had, it would be this movie. You know how so many times about, man, 80s movies felt like they were made on cocaine. Exactly. Because it's un-PC, it's got two foul-mouthed lead characters that, you know, have a good chemistry bond with each other, that will be in the midst of like Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop type of movies. The violence is there and it's done practically. There's practical blood squibs. There's at times it's pretty damn violent. It's like a buddy cop meets at times an exploitation film in a way. And the action scenes, you know what's funny is the other day I watched Fast X. And sorry that I paused there because Fast X was a headache. And you'll see that review before or after this. It's a fucking headache. I hated Fast X. That's a 2.5 hour movie that's trying to be very dumb and big and over the top, but I thought it was very boring. I thought the acting, the characters, at least at this point now, have warmed out their welcome. There's no zest and energy. Jason Momoa is trying too hard to be a wannabe Joker. He's just being campy. The action scenes have a shitload of CGI. Here, there's bit over the top action scenes, but for the most part, they're done practically. Even the CG additions actually hold up fairly well in 2003, and a lot of it is done in camera. That car chase in this movie is one of the best car chases in films, in my opinion. The finale when they're at the bad guy's mansion in Cuba and they're blowing up like actual big parts of the fucking house for real. Like, oh shit. When they're driving through the drug shack, shanty town of all these drug shacks, it's like they really are driving through the entire fucking thing for real. And you can't get more real than real. And when you see that, it's much more impressive. It holds up better when you think of films of that era, where they were using a lot more CGI, but Michael Bay, he knew this has a shitload of style. From the very opening with showing all the intricacies of how this ecstasy is made, to how the camera will swerve from going to buildings and going through the building into this club that's happening. And it's on PC. I mean, the whole bit where Reggie, the kid that's taking out Martin Lawrence's daughter, the way Martin and Will Smith fucked with him, that would be so frowned upon nowadays. But I will admit, I was in the theater and people, including me, were laughing our asses off during that scene. And I do remember watching this and there was a good reaction in the theater. I think both times I saw it. And they were laughing the moments they were supposed to laugh. And the cast, like, however I feel about Will Smith nowadays, I do like him as an actor. I do. I think he's a good actor in The Pursuit of Happiness. I think he's a charming guy in films like I, Robot and Independence Day. I think him and Martin Lawrence do have good chemistry in these three Bad Boys films. I'm not going to forget all that because he's being a dumbass because he can't realize his wife is a fucking idiot who wants Tupac's dick more than yours. I'm sorry, Will. That seems to be the truth of the matter that we all others see and out here. Get your act together and know the truth. Coming to the light, my friend. Just don't slap me, or I'll punch you in the face. But they do have great chemistry. It's actually, there's still quite a few moments that I laugh at it and laugh with it, and I like the villain Jordi Mollà. Jordi Mollà. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. It's Molla, so I'm not sure the right inflection, but I really like that villain. I thought he did a good job. I thought he. Usually these type of films, these would just be typical, but he gave a little bit more extra to his performance. I think also maybe the way that the theater is written helps as well. Whether it be he's on the phone and he has these two ladies and they're high and they're actually shooting the gun, and he's like, fucking beaches. Or he has his daughter and the people have painted the thing of Jesus as like, oh, it looks like you, Dad, and he was crucified. What? 12 years. What the fuck is this? Okay, why you have something so fucking depressing? Okay. And Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, they, just like the first film and even the third film, they worked so well together. They play off each other very well. They're still in their prime. Martin is still in pretty good shape. I know in the third one he got a bit of weight he put on, but this one he's still good in good shape. And the supporting cast, Gabrielle Union, who plays Martin Lawrence's sister. Joe Pantoliano comes back as their boss. Part of the TNT Tactical Narcotics team. We got Henry Rollins in there, among other people. Michael Shannon, Zod from Man of Steel, he's in this as one of the redneck white supremacists who Will and Martin get to steer the shit out of him and get information out of him. And it's just a wild ride that they will never make again. Because they're too violent, too un-PC, too insensitive by a bunch of fucking pansy pussies nowadays. And like each set piece just has some type of technical wonderment on it. And this is why, as much as I like Bad Boys for Life, I do kind of wish Michael Bay directed it, because while I do like Bad Boys for Life, I think the first film, while this film is funny, I think the first film is funnier. I think this one is much more of a technical achievement in terms of the action set pieces. And I thought the action, while at times was fun, was a little bit lacking compared to this one, I should say. But it was still nicely, for the most part. There's some hiccups there. But I do like, I always thought the first one was the funniest, the second one is the most batshit insane and entertainment, and the third one probably had the more of the heart. So there's actually a nice little trilogy right now. There's talks of making a fourth film. I don't know, with the way Will Smith, his public image is, I don't know, man. I don't know. I still don't like what he did, but listen, he didn't murder anyone, he didn't kill anyone, he didn't grope anyone, he didn't touch anyone. He just became a bit of a simp. So, we'll see. But yeah, you have the bit where they're taking on the white supremacists, and they're seeing the Bad Boys theme, and hell breaks loose, and Barnes is shooting bad guys, Will Smith shooting bad guys, Will Smith shooting, people are blowing up, and it's real stuntman, real explosions, and the wire work as they fly off. Will Smith shoots, and you get this cool looking slow motion that's going through these jars and clips Martin Lawrence's ass. Pretty decent effect. And then the slow motion keeps going, it goes to the bad guy's neck. Doesn't shy away from the blood. The effects, I think, are actually rather good. Like I said, they still hold up fairly well in 2003. Just, whatever you want to say about Michael Bay, the fact he did a lot of this practical when he could actually was a great benefit. Exercise your right to shut the fuck up, or after when the other cops, hey, you give you a kiss, make it better. You have the bit where Martin has gone through therapy and he does the woo-saw. I still know people that do the fucking woo-saw nowadays. Woo-saw, woo-saw. That was from this fucking film. See, I know what's up with you. See, God sent me here for you to touch me. Woo-saw. And you still get a sense of their friendship. Yes, there's friction because you find out that Martin Lawrence wants to have a transfer later on, and they won't be partners anymore, and he hasn't told Will Smith yet, while Will Smith is wanting to be in a relationship with Martin's sister, Gabrielle Union, but they haven't told Martin yet. But they still have this friendly banter with each other. Like I said, even watch it again, the bit where the dog wrecks the pool and Martin gets flown out and Will says, that's some funny shit. Or the repeat at the very end where they both go into the pool and the line is, see, this is that bullshit. And I hear that line, it still makes me generally laugh with the way it's delivered. And like I said, the set pieces, like there's these Haitians where W Union you find out is with DEA, I want to say, and there's a money drop, she gets attacked, she's shooting with a shotgun, our two leads are shooting with guns, machine guns, actual squibs. Holy shit. Why you get so excited for that? Because they don't fucking do that shit anymore. It is something that at this time we took for granted. Oh, what's the big deal? You know, everybody does that. Well, is it when no one ever does that anymore, or very, very rarely? Then yeah, when you go back, you see it. It's like, wow, we took this for granted. We took this as a thing they would do in all action films because it would seem practical. Yeah, you want to simulate a gunshot. You make a little thing here to make it seem like you've been shot, and it looks good, looks real. No, let's just do a bunch of fucking CGI that looks fake and cartoony and like a video game. But people do it because it's simpler in the terms of if it messes up, then you gotta clean up the actor, you gotta clean up the wardrobe, you gotta get another shirt, you gotta do this and that. It'll take time. But if you have a person just add like this and then later on add it in, then it'll be easier. Apparently the rooster disagrees. I do too, but that's what they do. And going to the 80s mentality, like there's even a moment that feels like a moment from Cobra where they're driving and they do the 80 and then Will Smith gets the machine gun, switch gun, now show him your badge. Not very cooler in Cobra when he does the 180, blows up the car. But like that's an 80s moment with 2003 technology, doing the 180, swerving the car, practical blood squibs. This is an 80s. People say, well, how are you doing an 80s movie in today's age? This is what that is. And people shit on it when it came out. It still has a low rating on IMDb. It still gets shit on nowadays. So I call this an underrated as hell sequel. Underrated as fuck. Because it made some at box office, but if you look at it compared to the budget, I don't know if it was a... Compared to his budget, I don't know how much profit it made, but humongously entertaining. And of course, the trailer, the Haitian side with the cars and dropping all the cars and going back and forth. Martin Lawrence actually shoots the dashboard. That's my bad. What are you doing? That bit when the car's flipping, Martin sticks his head out, and see Martin's head, the car flip over. That's still, I remember in the theater just being gobsmacked at what I was seeing. And still, to this day, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. I wish they would do a film like that nowadays. And again, they either go into the un-PC dialogue, which they don't hold back on, like Martin and Will when they're arguing. Like, listen, I know who you are. You're the guy that, you didn't give enough for your mom's titties, and he saw the psychobabble. Will Smith goes, that's the last time you'll ever refer to my mommy's titties. I said all that? That's all you think of was titties, huh? Or when they meet the Haitians again, and Will Smith's like, a bull in the head will really mess up your extensions. I love, like, the way Michael Bay did this, where Martin's in the bathroom, Will Smith's in one side of the wall, the bad guys are on the other side, and the camera's going through the bullet holes in this 180, going through the other bullet holes, and it keeps going as the characters are talking. I've never seen something like that done before, where it goes to the bullet hole and it keeps going like this. Especially by that point, I had not seen it. I don't know about since then, but at that point, I had never seen anything like that. I mean, wow, that's really cool, and that's a clever, neat shot. And, like, the exploitation angle. I mean, there's a point where Peter Stormare is a Russian mobster who's working with Jordi Mollà's character, and you find out that I think it's actually the guy who was in Predators, the Russian Spetsnaz guy. You found out that he's been killed. In fact, he's been put into a fucking barrel with body parts and given to Peter Stormare. And Will Smith, while they're going undercover in Jordi Mollà's place, finds his blood and even finds a fucking finger. And then does the Martin Lawrence, hey, what the fuck you doing? Run the print. Stop playing, man, with dead fingers. Run the print. Or they're in the morgue because they think the drugs being put in these dead bodies, and Martin Lawrence is looking, and the fucking skull pops off, and he's like, what you doing? Will Smith's like, what you puking? Do your job. The motherfucker's head fell off. Just do your job. Or there's another car chase where the bad guys are in a fucking vehicle, and the dead bodies are in the back, and they're falling off, and so they're falling off, so our good guys are rolling over these dead bodies, and one's head fucking pops off, or one lands, oh my god, we had a dead body on there. And Joe Pantoliano was like, what the fuck are these dead naked guys? They were dead before. I don't give a shit. God damn it. It's so insane. That's what I mean. This is a fucking... we think of insane movies like, Death Wish 3 and Invasion USA and all these movies in the 80s. That's what the fuck this movie is. This is Michael Bay's 80s movie. It just needed soundtrack. That's one of the few nitpicks I have. The score is there. I do miss Mark Mancini's score from the first movie. And funny enough, there's someone on YouTube that actually took scenes and remixed it with Mark Mancini's score that works very well. But imagine you took this film and you just put a lot of these 80s songs in it. That's really all that's missing, is those 80s type of songs. And That's right. You need like the 80s songs and 80s type of soundtrack, and you're pretty much there. Sometimes it got a little bit old where I really do like Martin Lawrence in this. Sometimes he was complaining a bit too much. But at the same time, I understood because it is a hell of a week these guys go through from getting shot in the ass and the white supremacist stuff to the big car trailer being shot at, machine gun type of stuff. And that whole thing to the bit with the dead bodies, and there's another firefight, and they get to this train. Will Smith gets on fighting a guy while Martin Lawrence has to get on from the back. To having to go undercover, and of course the whole thing with the morgue and stuff. Then his sister, then of course like his sister gets taken, and they gotta go to Cuba and fuck up this mansion, blow up. Tapia is the bad guy's name. Johnny Tapia's place. Blow up pretty much for fucking real. So I understand Martin Lawrence's frustration, but again, there's a tad. It's like, okay, one or two or three of these complaints could be just cut out. So again, the score I don't think is as good as the first film. I wish there was some like, again, with this kind of movie, 80 songs would actually fit in this. Like I said, the other thing is, there's once in a while there's a piece of humor, like the rat humping. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean, where they're undercover in Johnny Tapia's place, pretending to be exterminators, and he sees a bunch of two rats fucking. It's like, they fuck like us. I will admit, part of that, it did make me chuckle, but then I felt bad at myself for laughing at that. I will admit, but it's like, did that really need to be in it? No, but at the same time, I'm talking about and remembering it ever since I first saw it, so there's that, I guess. But this movie's just a ball to watch. And I didn't feel the 2.5 hour. It goes like a freight train. Again, the style, the bombastedness of the action sequences, the well done practical technical notes of it all, with the car chases and the shootouts, unabashed, not holding back on the violence and the language and not being PC, people in their A game, the chemistry is still there. Again, I like the villain. I like some of the supporting actors like Gabrielle Union. I thought she was better here than when they tried to make her own fucking show with just Alba. What the fuck it was called? I reviewed it and I already forgot what the fuck the show was called. But yeah, they try to do a damn TV show with her, trying to be like a female Bad Boys, but for TV, and it just didn't work at all. And yeah, I just liked how crazy it was. It's like one of the, I don't know what was the, there's not many buddy cop movies you don't find Chris calling one of the most nihilistic movies ever. But I just see their point, but at the same time, goddamn, was this fun. It was fun watching it again as well. I still love this movie. And I do think it's Michael Bay's best pure Bayham movie. I do. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.